Everyone's talking about AI these days, right? This season on Compiler, we're diving deep into how AI is reshaping the world we live in. Join us for a new season of Compiler, an original podcast from Red Hat. Subscribe now, wherever you get your podcasts.
Are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? If you're a woman, you're not alone. With over 1,000 hormone disruptors in our environment, it's no wonder things can feel out of balance. On top of that, natural changes like PMS, menopause, and other life stages can leave you feeling tired, irritable, and trapped in a constant battle with your body. But here's the good news. You don't have to suffer through it. Hormone Harmony by Happy Mammoth is here to help. This herbal formula fine-tunes your hormones, balancing estrogen, testosterone, and even stress hormones like cortisol, which can contribute to weight gain, racing thoughts, poor sleep, and more. With over 40,000 five-star reviews and a bottle selling every 24 seconds, the results speak for themselves. Ready to feel like yourself again? For a limited time, get 15% off your first order at happymammoth.com using code NEXTCHAPTER at checkout. Visit happymammoth.com today and get your old self back naturally.
Hello and welcome to Love Samantha Lee, the More Than Just Pretty podcast. I'm your host, Samantha Lee. And here we explore love, life, spirituality, and relationships through the lens of real beauty, the kind that begins the moment you decide to be unapologetically yourself. Join us as we dive into heartfelt discussions that challenge us, inspire us, and connect us. Are you ready to embrace your true self? Let's begin. What's up, family? What's going on with y'all? I hope you guys had a great weekend. And before I even get started, you guys, I want to let you guys know every single time I come on here, I've decided to let you in on a part of my life. I look at this like a diary. I look at this as just a place where I could just be completely unapologetically myself. I committed to you a couple weeks ago that, there was a moment, a brief moment where I didn't feel safe. And I spoke with some friends of mine that are also in this space, and they're like, that's just the enemy using what's happened in my life to cause me to be afraid to speak my truth, and allow God to use me. And so I pray before this particular podcast that God uses me. He uses me to encourage, he uses me to edify, to do whatever, So I just wanted to say that first. Well, y'all, I titled this "La Struggle." And I said this because your girl's in a season, y'all, where I'm struggling. I feel like I'm in between seasons. I feel like I'm not here, but I'm not there. I've talked about this on my birthday podcast as well. I feel like I'm just in between. I'm not quite where I want to be, where I'm not where I'm used to be. And I could say that in a lot of different areas of my life. And that's frustrating for me, because I think there's a part of me that really wants to be where I feel like I want to be. And then there's a part of me that feels guilty about the desire to be where I'm not, because I do believe that God calls us to be content in all things. I think there's a scripture that is taken out of context a lot where it says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Well, the first part of that says, whether I have a lot or I have a little, whether I'm hungry, whether I'm not, Paul is talking about, like, in all circumstances that he's found himself in, the only way that he's found contentment in any of these areas is through the strength of God, who allowed him to go through all these experiences, and he still found a way to be content. Because Paul spent a lot of his time in prisons, right? He wasn't in happy places, but he still found a way to be connected to purpose, and he still found a way to be content. And so I feel guilty at times about this in-between season that I find myself in. And I'm also trying to keep myself open, because I feel like if God hasn't brought me to my next season, there must be something I'm supposed to learn right here. And the other day I listened to a sermon where someone was talking about pit stops. We talked about how, Joseph was thrown into a pit and by his brothers who were jealous of him. And that pit although we look at it and we're like, are you, this is crazy that your own brothers, your own blood family are so jealous of you that they throw you into a pit. They try to sabotage you. They try to ruin you. But how many of us can relate to that? There's people in our lives that were close to us, that we loved, that we cared about, and that we thought would never. And Joseph, as we find him in Genesis, is dealing with just that, his own brothers, his own family, throwing him into a pit. And that pit was actually a well, and it was supposed to have water in it, but because God is divine and God is omnipotent and he's sovereign, that even though he was thrown into a pit, he didn't drown because there was no water in that well. It just happened to be, they actually want to take his life, but God put it on his brother Reuben to say, no, let's just throw him in the pit. Like, don't do that. But Reuben secretly was going to come back and get Joseph after his brothers went back. So long story short, even in Joseph being thrown into a pit, there was divine protection. And I think that from that sermon, God challenged me because the conclusion was that essentially Joseph had to go through the pit, had to go to prison to eventually get to the palace. He had to go through all these different areas that probably didn't make sense to him in that moment in order to reach purpose. And so as I heard the sermon about pit stops, I'm like, okay, what is that? Okay, how do I relate this to me? And I find myself in a season, y'all, where I do believe God is revealing aspects of myself to me that I don't like. I just had a conversation literally in the car as I was driving to the gym this morning. I'm like crying out to God, like, I can't stand how I am sometimes. Like, I can't stand it. I can't stand how I respond to things. I can't stand certain aspects of self. And I'm crying out to God in the car. And there's a part of me that wants to break out in tears, but there's a part of me that won't let me. And I realized that part, as I've grown accustomed to this feeling of not really like wanting to cry, but then not crying, wanting to go to the next level, but not actually getting to the next level. And I know it's my spirit. Like, as soon as I allow God to enter into the situation, there's like a calming that comes over my spirit. It doesn't allow me to get to the place that I think I'm going to go emotionally. And so as I was crying out in the car, I realized that I think in this season, God is really like, I'm in a pit stop. And we talk about NASCAR. We talk about how like they have pit stops and they're driving the car to such an extent that they need to get new tires. They need to refuel, do all these different things. And it's not to not finish the race. The point of the pit stop is to finish the race and finish the race well.
Are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? If you're a woman, you're not alone. With over 1,000 hormone disruptors in our environment, it's no wonder things can feel out of balance. On top of that, natural changes like PMS, menopause, and other life stages can leave you feeling tired, irritable, and trapped in a constant battle with your body. But here's the good news. You don't have to suffer through it. Hormone Harmony by Happy Mammoth is here to help. This herbal formula fine-tunes your hormones, balancing estrogen, testosterone, and even stress hormones like cortisol, which can contribute to weight gain, racing thoughts, poor sleep, and more. With over 40,000 five-star reviews and a bottle selling every 24 seconds, the results speak for themselves. Ready to feel like yourself again? For a limited time, get 15% off your first order at happymammoth.com using code NEXTCHAPTER at checkout. Visit happymammoth.com today and get your old self back naturally.
All you homeowners have unique needs. Some feel the need to leave up holiday decorations year-round. Others have the need to use their garage as practice space for their new metal band. And because each homeowner has unique needs, Geico helps you get the right coverage for your home and what's in it. That way, you get exactly what's right for you, even if your needs are unique. Get more with Geico.
And y'all, I feel like I'm in a pit stop. I don't know if God is putting new tires on my whip. I don't know if he's refueling me or he's showing me different ways of being. But it hit me in the sermon like I'm in a pit stop. And I don't know how many on here that are listening to me can relate to feeling like you're in between seasons. Feeling like, God, like what am I where I'm supposed to be? Should I stop doing this? Should I stop doing that? Like, y'all, I had a moment today where I'm like, should I just stop this whole like social media, YouTube, podcast? Like, should I just stop? Should I just give up? Like, what's the point? Like, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that. I'm like putting all of my energy into this. I'm like, y'all, you don't understand. Like, there's times where I feel like I never stop working. There's no off moment. There's no off button. There's always something to do. I think people look at it online and like, oh, well, you know, you're putting out content. It's not that big of a deal. You must love it. No, put out original content every week, not just once a week, but multiple times a week is a job for real. And so this morning, y'all, I really didn't have anything. I had nothing. I'm like, God, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm at a place where I'm like, I need some encouragement. I need for you to show up. I need for you to let me know, like, am I in the right place? Am I in purpose? Am I doing what you want me to do? And y'all, to be honest with you, I'm not really sure what the answer is. Told you I was going to be unapologetically myself here. I don't know what the answer is. I know I'm working hard. And I feel like I'm running this marathon. And there's times where I'm sprinting and there's times where I'm not. I'm doing like a jog. And right now, guys, I'll be honest, I'm probably giving y'all a brisk walk. I'm giving you the best I can. But I'm discouraged. And that's just me being real. So in the midst of me praying and me trying to connect with God, and y'all, it's moments like this where you have to dial in. You know, there's times where, you know, yesterday, y'all, just being honest, I was on my phone. I like watching YouTube. I like YouTube surfing. I'm looking at all this different content. Ain't got nothing to do with God, you know, just entertainment, just pure entertainment. After church, just, you know, scrolling, watching these videos. And I'm like, and I found myself being very irritable and not really myself and not really resting and just not the optimal version of Sam, not the Sam that I really want to be in life. Like I felt lost. And it brought me, like I said this morning, as I was driving, to a place of just being like, God, why do I do this? Like, I know that feeding my flesh does not bring me fulfillment. I know that just watching these different things and not really bringing in the spiritual component, I know that what that does to even how my countenance, the way that I approach situations, like I can tell when I'm not feeding my spirit. I'm just tired of me sometimes. And I think God in that moment said, this is exactly where I need you to be. Yeah, that hit when I just said that. That hit. When you stop trying to make things happen, when you stop like getting in God's way and you're trying to control the outcomes and you're trying to like strategize and figure out how things are going to happen. Like, y'all, I have these intuitions and these feelings about what God is going to do in my life. And it's frustrating because I'm not there yet, but I want to be there. But there's this like in between season that I'm in. And I'm like, I'm not yet there, but I'm not all the way back there. You know, I'm just in this in between. And God's like, I need you to surrender. I need you to really get to a place of surrender. The reason why you're struggling so hard with what I'm calling you to do and to be is because you have no control over it. And every time you try to take control, you delay the process. That's what God was telling me. Every time you try to reformulate your mind to get control and to figure out how it can happen and how it can happen faster, and you're just trying to not say outsmart God, but it's almost like you get into your head. And I'm one of those people. I tell people all the time, I overthink overthinkers. I'm one of those people that will overthink myself to oblivion. Like it's nonstop. It's like what is this? What is that? What blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, okay, girl, relax. Like, what are you doing? Right? I'm just being so transparent with y'all. I'm like, mind is moving. And I had to get to a place, you guys, where I had to surrender this morning. I had to cry out. I had to say, God, I'm tired of me. I'm tired of being this way. I'm tired of like trying so hard to like control the outcome. And for any of you guys who struggle with anxiety, like that's part of my thing. It's like I'm in a situation that is beyond my control. All I can control is how I show up. All I can control is being consistent in my effort. All I can control is continuing to come to the cross. And so, whatever I do for my spirituality and connecting with my creator, all I can do is show up. I cannot control the outcome. And y'all, can I tell you how much that sucks? Can I tell you how hard that is for me? Because you in God's kingdom, it's relinquishing control and just saying you're going to do the best that you can do. And that doesn't provide assurance or insurance in the way that in our lives where we, you go to a job, you clock in 9 to 5, you get the paycheck, right? That's just 1, 2, 3. We know what's going to happen. In God's economy, when we're trying to accomplish dreams, when we got visions, there's no assurance. There's only controlling you. And sometimes, y'all, that can drive somebody like me crazy. Because I want to worry about every other facet of it. And I want to figure out, like, what do I do? Am I doing this wrong? And this, that, and the third. And why is this happening? And why is it not happening fast enough? And what is going to happen? What if it doesn't happen? And I'm just like, and I'm literally driving me crazy. And so I come on here because I know that there's somebody else that's listening to me. It's going through the same thing. What I learned about this struggle, family, is that God does this on purpose. That with Joseph, him being thrown into the pit, as horrible as that was for him, was a part of the plan. That didn't mean that he was off course. That didn't mean he wasn't walking in purpose. That was a part of the plan. And then him going into and being essentially a slave to a man, and his wife coming on to him, and he denies her advances. She goes back and tells her husband that he did things inappropriately towards her. And now he's having to act on this and throws him in prison. And so now, like, Joseph's like, dang, okay, what can I've been thrown into a pit. Now I'm in a prison. I don't belong in either one of these circumstances. It's because of the favor in my life that these attacks are being attracted to me. Joseph could have just given up, y'all. Joseph could have just said at that moment, like, forget all this. Like, forget all of the trying to walk in God's favor, growing in my spirituality. Like, forget all of that. Like, if God has allowed these negative circumstances to happen, forget this whole God thing. Let me go rogue. Let me do me. But Joseph didn't. That's the incredible thing. Joseph didn't allow the circumstances that he faced to stop him from pursuing purpose. And pursuing purpose wasn't creating content 7 days a week. Purpose was, I'm staying connected to my creator. I'm staying surrendered to the process that he has for me versus the processes that I create for myself. So I realize, family, as I'm talking to you, that the struggle that I have is me fighting me. There's a song that Pink came out with years ago, y'all, and I was a big Pink fan. For those who didn't, I mean, that might surprise y'all, but look, I'm a bag of surprises. Okay, there's a song that's called "Don't Let Me Get Me." She says, "Don't let me get me. I'm my own worst enemy." What's the rest of it? I forgot all the words. Hold on. Don't let me get me. I'm my own worst enemy. My own worst enemy. Hold on. I don't know why they even came to my mind, but y'all, I'm going to go with the spirit. She says, every day I fight a war against the mirror. I can't take the person staring back at me. I'm a hazard to myself. Don't let me get me. I'm my own worst enemy. It's bad when you annoy yourself. So irritating. I don't want to be my friend no more. I want to be somebody else. She's expressing something. And I remember that was a hit song. I mean, that was like a number one situation right there. Because a lot of us can relate to that. We could put on a show for social media. We can make it seem like we're just so okay with ourselves. We just love ourselves and everything's hunky-dory and we're just amazing and blah, blah, blah. But that's not real. We sit by ourselves and we like reflect on the things that are going on in our lives and where we are and where we want to be. There's a fight that I'm struggling with where I literally annoy myself because I obsess over how to get to the outcome. And in God's economy, kingdom economy, it's surrender. That's the only way to get there. It's literally surrendering the process. There was a verse that I brought up last week where Proverbs 16:9, I can't believe I remember it, but Proverbs 16:9, in the heart of a man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. This verse is a reminder that God is in control. And while it is okay to make plans, that we should do so in humility and obedience. What does that mean? God is sovereign, that God is good. It says in the Bible that he does exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ever ask, think, or imagine. It says that eyes haven't seen, ears haven't heard, minds can't even imagine all that God has planned for us. It says all things are working for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. That what was meant for evil is working for my good. That no weapon formed against me will prosper. Every voice raised to accuse me will be silenced. These are the benefits that are going to be enjoyed by me. The Lord has spoken. That God has made certain promises to us, and God is sovereign. And the issue is that sometimes, y'all, we get so attached to our plans, so attached. God might have given us a vision of what the future holds, but we get obsessed with planning because that's what we were taught. We were taught to plan. We were taught to make a plan and make it plain and do all these different things. But I've learned in this kingdom mentality is like all you can do is the best you can do. What you can control in the moment, you can't control tomorrow because it's not within your control. All you can do is I can do the best I can with today. I can try to make the plan, but God establishes the steps. That means that I can't be so married to how I want things to go, how I want things to happen, when I want things to happen, to where I don't allow God's perspective to come through and basically overtake it. The reason why I've been struggling, the reason why I've been going back and forth with myself is because I've got a plan. And because I hadn't at that time surrendered the plan to God, I'm struggling because life is not going to plan. God had revealed to me that you can make a plan, and that's great and that's cool. You want to get there in a year? I get it. Cool. You want this to happen right before this age? I get it. Cool. I hear you. I hear you. But I establish your steps. I establish your steps. That yes, you can make a plan, but you've got to do it with humility, knowing that I'm sovereign, that I'm good, that if I make a plan for your life, I'm a good God that's going to see it through. And I'm a good God that's going to make it happen in the best way that it could possibly happen. But what happens with us and what happened with me is that because it's taking longer than I wanted to, because I don't really see how it's going to happen, I start doubting God. I start doubting the plan. I start wondering if I'm on the right track. I start getting lost in my thoughts, not being productive at all. Because God is not going according to my plan. God is not moving according to what I thought he would do. I want to encourage somebody on here who's just like me. Control freaks who want to control the outcome, who want things to happen faster than they are. I want to encourage you. Just because God is doing it on his time doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And if it's not his plan, if your plan does not match his plan is better. Y'all, there's been times in my life where I thought I knew what was best for me. And I found out later on I did not. I'm ill-equipped. I'm not wise enough. I'm not smart enough. God knows what's good for me today, and he will know that that same thing can be good for me 3 years from now. God knows. And so I want to button this up, and I really didn't even expect to get to the place that I'm at right now, just being completely transparent with you guys. The struggle that I'm facing, the struggle that I'm going to overcome is surrendering my time and my plan and how I wanted it, when I wanted it. And trust God. Trust that God is sovereign. Trust that God is good. Trust that if it's God's will, it will happen. And it will happen at the perfect time. And if it doesn't happen, get ready for something even better, even greater than you could ever imagine. All you can focus on and control is how you show up best in today. Yes, you can write down the goal. You can talk to God about it. And I believe God gives us the desires of our heart as we stay aligned with him. You know, a lot of us there's desires of our heart, but they ain't got nothing to do with God. I believe that when we surrender ourselves to God and get before the cross and get before the altar and we're really connected to him, the desires that we have are from him. But I believe that God dreams require God in order to make them come to fruition. That if we can do it within our own strength and we can do it within our own will, it's not a God thing. Some of you guys have dreams and you have visions. And because you're facing trials and tribulations, it's causing you to doubt what you believe God put on your heart. I want to encourage you today that God is allowing these things to happen for you to finally surrender and allow him to take control. He wants you to get to the end of yourself. He wants you to get to the place of like, okay, you know what, God, I got you. I understand. I'm tired of me. Don't let me get me. I'm my own worst enemy. I'm my own worst enemy. She's saying I irritate myself. And this morning, I'm irritated with me. I'm like, why do I allow myself to continue to feed my flesh and feed things that don't serve me? Like, why am I doing this? I know better than this. And God's like, listen, I knew you before you were even born. I knew what you would struggle with. But all of that got you here. All of that got you right where I want you. The best place for you to be. Surrender to me. Surrendering the plan. Saying, God, I'm going to do everything I know to do. And trust that whatever comes from it is from you. That I know the enemy's trying to distract me and trying to get me off my path. But I trust you. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep striving. And until you tell me to stop, I'm going to keep going and growing like Joseph. Because Joseph could have allowed the circumstances in his life, justifiably so, to stop him. But he didn't. He could have said, you know what, forget all this being like a stand-up guy and a stand-up brother, and forget all this. I'm just going to go rogue and do my own thing, because being good and being godly and staying close to the cross hasn't gotten me anywhere. And not close to the cross because Jesus hadn't died yet, but y'all know what I mean. Staying close to God. But instead, he still lived in integrity. He still walked the path. And every day, no matter what circumstance he was in, he showed up the best way he could. That's all God requires for you, family. He's not requiring you to figure it out. He's not requiring you to make it happen. He's requiring you to show up the best way every day, the best way you can, doing the best you can with what you have every day. He's not holding you accountable for something you don't have or he's not giving you. He's holding you accountable with what he's given you. So be faithful. Show up, be consistent. Trust God with the rest. Trust God with the plan. Trust God with the process. Trust God with the steps. How you think it's going to go is probably not going to go that way. It's probably going to go a different way. It's probably going to happen a way you couldn't even see it happening, because that's how God is. He's not bound by worldly things, worldly concepts, worldly time frames. He's bigger than that. Thank you for spending your time with us on Love Samantha Lee, the More Than Just Pretty podcast. It's been a privilege to share this space with you, where we celebrate being unapologetically ourselves. I hope today's episode has encouraged you to embrace your own unique beauty and the beauty in others. Don't forget to follow us and join our community on social media. Share your journey and your insights, and let's continue this conversation. Until next time, remember, real beauty starts with you being true to yourself. I love you, family, and I'm going to talk to you soon.
Shopify is a global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business and sell more with less effort thanks to the Shopify magic. Your AI-powered all-star. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/redcircle, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/redcircle now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/redcircle.
All you homeowners have unique needs. Some feel the need to leave up holiday decorations year-round. Others have the need to use their garage as practice space for their new metal band. And because each homeowner has unique needs, Geico helps you get the right coverage for your home and what's in it. That way, you get exactly what's right for you, even if your needs are unique. Get more with Geico.